Drivers, welcome in. Seven Rivers Racing here in KQEG TV. I'm Dan Dyker along with Al Losi. Coming up, another exciting weekend of racing at the Crosse Speedway. And I do have to mention right off the bat, there's a picture that was taken this weekend by Joe Gibbs. I don't know if you saw that on my Facebook or not.
I had not.
It is an outstanding shot. I did the introductions from back to front, and as I'm standing on one side, Greg Oliver's got the flag on one side, and the way he took that shot with the sun setting looks like a painting. I would highly recommend you find that picture and ask Joe Gibbs. He will recopy that. He made me an 11 by 14 a couple of weeks ago, only $15. So that is going to be one of the best pictures I've ever seen taken at the Crosse Speedway. It's just simply outstanding.
And there's been a few other pictures taken this week of a big event in your life.
Oh yeah, I had another viewer of Seven Rivers Racing, another race fan brought into the Crosse Speedway. My daughter Katie ended up having a 7-pound, 8-ounce baby on the night of the 4th of July at 7:20. She was 20 1/4 inches long. Her name is Hallie Karen. And
big
Mom,
congratulations.
Well, I appreciate that. Yep. Mom is doing fantastic. Hallie came home on Friday, so I got to see her just enough time to go up and do dirt track announcing and then back to lacrosse. But just fantastic. Everything has just been outstanding. And again, like I said at the racetrack Saturday, a lot of cards and congratulations have come in from people I don't even know who they are. So I appreciate you. And it just shows that when you're part of a racing community, and I've said this for as long as I've been race announcing, lacrosse has got some of the best fans. I mean, it's just one huge family, both in the grandstands and both in the pits. So
it's just so nice too. Your daughter is such a sweetheart. Her nickname is Honey Bear?
Katie Bear.
Yes. Bear. So it's just, and seeing the pictures of your granddaughter, it's just awesome.
So, yep, they're both doing healthy and fine, and hope to get her at the racetrack here before the end of the race season. Talking about the racetrack, I'll tell you what, Brad Powell, broken engine just a couple of weeks ago, hopped into Matt Henderson's backup car that we saw Tuesday night during the Big 8 Late Model Series. And for the first time in Henderson's career, both of his cars were up front, finishing 1 and 2. And an outstanding win for Brad Powell. I tell you what, it's really kind of hard to do, is to hop into somebody else's car and win a race.
And that's true. The Hendersons, though, they have their shop set up, and I do know that Brad does go over there quite often. He's very good friends with them. They have some of the same sponsors, so he's familiar with their equipment. But you are so right. To climb into a vehicle that you really don't know, and you're trying to do the setups, and you've only got 3 practice sessions before the racing night starts to really dial that car in.
We saw Steve Carlson had a chance several times to pass Powell. Told me on the track interviews afterwards, that car was so loose, he just knew there was no way he was going to be able to catch Powell. More importantly, if you put some more laps on that scoreboard, if you saw the way that Todd Korish and Jay Herbst were coming in, they made that thing look a lot closer than it actually was. And I say you put under 5 on the scoreboard, you got the 4 fastest cars in lacrosse, bumper to bumper all the way back.
Yeah, I was starting to wonder there if there were some, they started with their air pressures maybe way too low, and by the time they got up on lap 15 or 18, that's when they started making a charge to the front, or if the leaders were starting to back up because their air pressures were too high. But those race cars change so much during the course of a race just because of the heat and the flex in the body.
Up next, North Country Contractors sportsman Rick Schermerhorn, and boy did he get a chance to get a pass for a race lead on this one here we're going to show you. Bill Martin, well, Billy's had some problems here the past couple of weeks. He's been changing front ends left and right, and as you're about to see here, he's going to be taking that one back into the shop again. We had a nice battle going on as Bill Martin was leading this race. You throw Steve Bachman in the mix, and you throw Rick Schermerhorn in the mix, but you see something broke right there on Bill Martin as he just kind of slowly coasts down the back straightaway into the grass. That knocked him out of contention, and it left it up to Steve Bachman and Rick Schermerhorn on who wanted to take the feature win on this night. And this one's going to go to the number 7, Rick Schermerhorn, as we're going to show you here in just a moment. Bachman had an advantage, flew to the outside to pass Martin and Dummer. Later on in the race, Rick Schermerhorn got the late race pass, and he's a tough man to beat. He sure is. The racing out there was just so good. The weather turned out to be nice as the heat finally dissipated quite a bit and really made for some great racing that Saturday night. Well, Greg Scheck made his way to the front as well. He finished second. Bachman finished second. Scheck took third. Matt Inglet fourth, and Jake Arneson, who's been very impressive this year, especially even in the point standings, climbed his way up as well and rounded out the top 5. And we'll touch on the point standings here in a couple of moments. As you saw, Bachman just didn't have enough to chase down Rick Schermerhorn. Greg Scheck has been very consistent over the past couple of weeks. And Matt Inglet, when you get the Hulk Smash 27 in there, can make for a nice mix of racing as well as you see Schermerhorn take the checkered flag. On to the north, the Thunderstock class. Mark Chalet did a couple of things on Saturday night he's never done before. He won a heat race behind the wheel of a Sportsman. Then he went to his number 4 car in the Thunderstocks and got a feature win. So it was a great night for the young man, Mark Chalet.
Mark has been out there for a long time. Him and his father worked so hard on those race cars. They've done so much, and for them to finally get out not just 1 win, but they ended up with 2.
Well, Chalet actually is driving triple duty this year. He's in a Sportsman car. He's in a Thunderstock, and he is also in the Outlaw class. And the Outlaws will be back out La Crosse here in a couple of weeks. Chris Weber out of Cashton tried as he could to try to catch Chalet. Chalet really held a tight line here, closed the door out of turn 4 and sealed the win. And boy, he got out of that car quicker than I think I've seen anybody at La Crosse get out, and slapping the top of it and getting a warm welcome from the Crosse Speedway crowd. So again, congratulations, Mark Chalet. American Super Cup Series made their first ever stop at the La Crosse Speedway on Saturday night. 14-year-old Joshua James is a rookie in this class this year. These are cars that are kind of shrunk down NASCAR Sprint Cup cars. They're pretty much complete. They run a 390 GX Honda motor. They've got shocks. I mean, this is a nice little setup right here that these guys have. And it was kind of interesting after 2 restarts. Mick James, who is a 15-year veteran of the class, found himself restarting on the front row with the youngster twice, and the 14-year-old beat the teacher.
He did an excellent job. Those cars are so much fun to watch. The size is so fun to watch, and people should realize these things weigh twice as much as a go-kart.
Yeah, 740 pounds with the driver.
With the driver, and the motor ratio that they have on these things, they can get some really good jumps off the corners. And what's kind of cool is that you can see when they don't take the corner right, the motor bogs down a little bit. When they take a nice smooth corner, and you're right, you'd think that a veteran would be able to take advantage of that. His tires were the ones that bogged down a little bit in the corner, and these things can turn some pretty good speeds.
Well, they were telling me that gears are never really a factor when you get to these tracks. They race in Indianapolis, they race at Rockford and Slinger and the Dells, and they say that gears are never really a portion of their program. They were at La Crosse, and they said they heard them clicking left and right, and we can't wait to see them back out again coming up on August 11th. Coming up Friday night, it's Street Drags at the La Crosse Speedway, and then Saturday night, Christmas in July. On the other side of this break, we're going to tell you all about that. Al Ossie and Dan Dyker, this is Seven Rivers Racing here in KQEG TV.